Buffalo Bills pre-draft visits, virtual meetings, combine meetings, workouts, interviews. We know how important the interview process is, understanding the character, the DNA of each and every single one of these players for Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott. We want to see how these players are going to fit to this team. So I think it's clear that Brandon Beane's pre-draft visit list and interview list has a lot to do with who the Buffalo Bills are going to be selecting in the 2023 NFL Draft. Welcome to my channel here, Bills News Consolidated. Brandon Beane's list, his draft board has been pretty much leaked. We just have to facilitate things and understand the players and their values and the Buffalo Bills given picks. Now, I think it's interesting to note that the Buffalo Bills has spent the most time with wide receivers. 11 wide receivers have been on pre-draft visits or interviews. Bills are really diving into the wide receivers. And one player in particular that the Bills have actually met twice with was Jordan Addison from USC, wide receiver. I think the Bills are definitely interested in him. Why would we spend time with him twice? Also, another player that we spent time with twice is Bijan Robinson, a running back. A lot of people are saying that Bijan Robinson could very well slip to the Buffalo Bills at 27th overall, knowing that the Buffalo Bills bring in Damian Harris on a one-year deal. Could Bijan Robinson still be on the Buffalo Bills radar if he is there at 27th overall? And per these pre-draft visits, it makes a lot of sense. Spending 2 visits, spending a lot of time with Bijan. Also, his backup, Roschon Johnson. I think the Bills could definitely be eyeing him up as well. Now, some other players here the Buffalo Bills has spent time with twice is another running back, Taji Spears, under the radar running back, about 5'10", 200 pounds. Some say he isn't the greatest pass catcher, but he is a physical style runner and actually reminds me of a Damian Harris. So if we bring in a Taji Spears to learn from a Damian Harris, similar to what we did with Devin Singletary and LaShawn McCoy and Frank Gore, we have value on that veteran leadership, getting these guys ready for the NFL. So Taji Spears is definitely a guy that is on the Buffalo Bills radar, spending 2 visits on 3 of these players. Jordan Addison, Bijan Robinson, and Taji Spears are the only guys that the Bills have spent time with twice. And again, wide receiver, those 11 spots at wide receiver. Some other things to note from this list, I actually have it linked down below. You guys can check that out. But noting that the Bills have really only spent time with 2 tackles, 2 offensive tackles coming out. And I think it's very, very interesting to see that. Darnell Wright, a guy from Tennessee, did excellent at right tackle, but really struggled at left tackle. And we know that's going to hurt his value and the perception of the Buffalo Bills, knowing that we want guys that are cross-trained, that could play multiple positions. Like Spencer Brown, he could play right, he can swing to left. But knowing that the drop-off is so dramatic when Darnell Wright goes from right tackle to left tackle, it just doesn't seem feasible for him to be a starting left tackle or even a backup, at that matter, for the Buffalo Bills. So I think that's definitely going to hurt his draft value. The Bills wanted to dive into Darnell Wright and see why he's a better right tackle versus left tackle, if he can ever make that transition to left. But it's definitely going to hurt the value of Darnell Wright for the Buffalo Bills. And I don't know if he's going to slip to the Bills at a fair value pick later in the NFL Draft. Now, the other person I put on this list was Matthew Bergeron, simply because Aaron Kromer, our offensive line coach, was at Bergeron's pro day. Nothing was really announced, but it was confirmed, and there is video of Aaron Kromer working one-on-one with Matthew Bergeron. And I know Sean McDermott, Brandon Beane, they trust our coaches, clearly trusting Aaron Kromer and Ken Dorsey, the Buffalo Bills running attack. That's why we brought Aaron Kromer in here, to solidify this running attack. Was once the Buffalo Bills offensive line coach with Rex Ryan, led the Bills the #1 rushing attack twice. I think that's huge. So we trust the expertise of Aaron Kromer. And I think Matthew Bergeron is definitely work in progress, right? Coming from Canada, getting recognized, going to a camp, a football camp in Syracuse, signing on with Syracuse. He's just got a lot of raw talent. And I think a guy like Aaron Kromer could definitely get the most of him. I don't see Bergeron beating out Spencer Brown this upcoming year, but after a season or two, who knows? Maybe Bergeron could be a solidified starting right tackle for Bills Mafia. You got to keep this all in mind, right? Spencer Brown, kind of a question mark. Wide receiver with Gabe Davis, right? A lot of Bills fans upset with Gabe Davis, although statistically, considering how hurt this team was, including Josh Allen, including Spencer Brown in this offensive line, including Gabe Davis, we really haven't seen the most of each and every single one of these players and what Gabe Davis is ultimately going to present. I know a lot of people are saying that DeAndre Hopkins is definitely on the Bills' radar, and he very well could be. I think the Bills are definitely kind of sitting in the grass. We're sitting in the weeds a little bit in this year's NFL draft, seeing what's going to transpire. Even some linebackers. Bills have spent a lot of time with linebackers. Drew Sanders, Trenton Simpson, and some other guys. And it's really funny to note that Jack Campbell is actually not on the list. Jack Campbell, to me, is the top guy for Bills Mafia, working one-on-one with Luke Kuechly this offseason, getting prepared for the NFL. And maybe that is our insight, knowing that Luke Kuechly and Sean McDermott, Luke Kuechly coming to Bills OTAs and training camp, the relationship that we have with Luke Kuechly, I think that really acts almost as a pre-draft visit for the Buffalo Bills. Sean McDermott could easily call Luke Kuechly and be like, hey, look, what do you see? But knowing that we spent time with Nolan Smith, other linebackers, we have interest, and we're using these things as comparables. And I think Jack Campbell is still on the Buffalo Bills' radar, even though he's not listed on this pre-draft visit list. And I like Drew Sanders. I like Trenton Simpson. But I really think the Bills' first option here would be Jack Campbell coming to the Buffalo Bills. I think we could definitely use him 27th overall, and all these depth players that the Bills could bring in later in the NFL draft. You know, DeAndre Hopkins, to me, makes a lot of sense. Arizona's asking for a second-round pick, and Hopkins came out stating that he wants to play with the Buffalo Bills and that he's willing to rework his contract. That should just be music to Brandon Beane's ears. Bills could definitely go into this year's NFL draft if we lose out on, say, Jordan Addison or a wide receiver like Nathaniel Tank Dell, who roasted Sauce Gardner in college, last year's rookie NFL defensive MVP. Tank Dell could come to Buffalo Bills later in the draft. But if we miss out on the guys that we ultimately want, maybe a second-round draft pick, next year, a 2024 second-round draft pick for DeAndre Hopkins, maybe even a first-round draft pick for Devin White if Jack Campbell gets selected by Tampa Bay, by the Steelers, by the Dallas Cowboys. If we lose out on those guys, the Bills are just kind of sitting in the weeds a little bit, waiting to read and react. But I hope you guys truly enjoyed this video. Please hit like, subscribe. It really helps this channel stay alive. You know, all the likes, subscriptions, really goes a long way, guys. And hope you guys enjoy the list. I'm either going to drop it in the comment section below, or I'll do a Google Doc for you guys to read. I really think the Buffalo Bills, 6 draft picks or more if we trade and get more draft picks, I really think the Buffalo Bills, all of our draft picks are in that list below. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hit like, subscribe. Go Bills!